McCrary on his way over to the arena for tonight's basketball game. 800-956-7266, the number. And pro, we're going to see a lot of potential pros, especially on the LSU side of things in this game tonight.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Ben Simmons, probably one of those guys who, at his size, knows what he probably wants to do, but one of those guys who don't have a position. The interesting thing for South Carolina tonight, if it's anything Ben Simmons is reticent to do, is to play face-up defense. I think you got to go at him early in the ball game to see if he wants to play defense. And everybody says, well, he blocks shots. Yeah, but guys who block shots have a propensity to be drawn by the pump fake, and that's how he's gotten into foul trouble. So it'll be interesting to see how Frank Martin plays it tonight.
First in the SEC in rebounding, third in points, fifth in assists. He's got the complete game. Yeah, he's got a little bit of work maybe on the defensive side, nitpick here and there, but a talent nonetheless from down under, from Australia, and went to high school in Florida. And, of course, was a very highly recruited player coming out of Montverde Academy in Florida, and decided to go to LSU, where, by the way, they are going to be erecting a statue of Pistol Pete Maravich. They already got the arena named after him. Mm-hmm. They're going to put a statue out there. Think how history might have changed in our state in college basketball if Press Maravich had not been hired at NC State as their coach, and if Pete Maravich had gone to Clemson to play his college basketball.
Which would have been Clemson College at that time, I believe.
No. Back in the 60s?
Okay, yeah. Well, his dad coached there when they were still Clemson College. But, yeah, that would have been interesting. But Pistol Pete, he went to a place where he could have the ball all day, every day.
I think any place he went, he was going to have the ball all day, any day. Especially if his dad was the head coach. You know, if Press Maravich had been the head coach at Clemson and Pete would have gone there, I guess was Bobby Roberts the head coach? Was he an assistant on Bobby Roberts' staff, or was it somebody else? My memory doesn't
recall, but I knew he was the head coach there. But yeah, Pistol Pete. Everybody talks about his scoring, but he was a tremendous passer.
Oh my God!
In his day as well. So averaged 40-something points a game.
All right, busy night here on Sports Talk as always. We'll get to your phone calls coming up, update some news notes, have some recruiting for you as well. And South Carolina State coach Murray Garvin's going to join us in our second hour tonight. We'll be back. All right, sports talk here on a basketball Wednesday nights in South Carolina. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at sportstalksc. USC and LSU coming up tonight at the Colonial Life Arena. USC with a record of 20-3, 7-3 in the SEC. LSU 15-8, 8-2 in the SEC. LSU 15-8, not going to impress a lot of people because the talent that they have on that team, but they suffered some losses early in the year for whatever reason. They lost to Marquette by 1. And these are some bad losses. They lost to Marquette by 1. They lost to a bad NC State team in overtime by 11. They lost at the College of Charleston by 12. Then they lost at Houston in overtime by 7. Lost to Wake Forest by 6, and that was at home. They had some bad losses early in the year, and, of course, they're not ranked right now. However, they are starting to get it together. They beat Alabama. They beat Georgia. They beat Auburn. They beat Mississippi State last time out. They lost that incredible game to Oklahoma, 77-75. They've lost to Florida on the road. They've lost to Texas A&M on the road in league play. So they've picked it up a little bit here of late after that very shaky November and December.
Well, I will say this. I'm a member of the NCAA basketball committee. I will give you the LSU version of the story, and then I'll describe you if LSU was North Carolina. Okay, the LSU story is, okay, yes, they had some real bad losses. They got a great player in Ben Simmons, but those bad losses will keep them out of the tournament. You know, they were really – now, if LSU was North Carolina, this is what they say. Yeah, they had some bad losses early, but you got to remember that, you know, their shooting guard, Keith Hornsby, was out. He was injured. The transfer from New Orleans, Craig Victor, was out. He hadn't really completed he hadn't gotten his eligibility yet. Quarterman had a sprained ankle early. See, they give all the excuses if it was North Carolina, but for LSU, they had some bad losses early.
Conspiracy theorist you are.
Yes, not considering the injuries that LSU had early in the campaign.
RPI of 79 for LSU going into tonight's game. Strength of schedule is 82. Non-conference strength of schedule 197. See, only 7-6 in non-conference play, 1-3 against top 50 competition. So a win tonight is going to help either team. It'll help LSU more because South Carolina's a top 50 team. LSU 79, not a top 50 team. Even though people look at this game and will say this is definitely a team talent-wise that is much better than the 79 RPI and is a step up in competition for the Gamecocks and should be considered a top 50 kind of team, even though at this point in time they are not. So, you know, South Carolina would certainly, even though LSU 79th in the RPI, South Carolina certainly would still benefit if they can get the win tonight. The Gamecocks, in terms of the RPI record, 19-3. Remember that win over Francis Marion does not count in the RPI Division II team. 12-0 outside the league, 1-0 against top 50 teams. Strength of schedule has improved in recent weeks. It's now at 135, and that will continue to improve as they play the games coming up in their schedule. And the other thing about South Carolina, too, boy, did I make a mistake last night talking about Kentucky and Georgia. I mean, I thought that was going to be a close game. What did it end up? I turned away when it was 30 points.
I think it was 30-something points.
Yeah, my goodness.
Georgia gave up. You could tell. They were out of it. They gave up the goals. They act like they didn't want to play. And this is a difficult time for Georgia because you got some seniors on that team that you think, but it looks like they're getting ready to mail it in as if, you know, last year this time is when they cranked it up because they were not a tournament team last year till they cranked it up. Now it seems that their seniors say, well, we don't have that same fire we had last year. And as I said before, Jurisic, he looked like it awkward at times, but that guy would get the key rebound. He hit the key three, and he was a bad matchup for a lot of teams because he was 6'10", 6'11", and he's standing out there at the three-point line hitting the three. The next time he's putting an elbow in your chest underneath the basket. They don't have that this year.
Yeah, you look at the rest of South Carolina's schedule, LSU, Kentucky this week. Then they go to Missouri, which that should be a win because Missouri is not very good, downright bad. Then they get Florida and Tennessee at home. And, I would say those should be a couple of wins for South Carolina at home. Then they go to Mississippi State. And the way Mississippi State clubbed Arkansas last night, that changes your opinion there. Then they get Georgia and at Arkansas. So, the Gamecocks have 3, 6, 8 games left. Can they go 6-2 over those 8?
That's a possibility. I will tell you this though, Arkansas is a lot like
5 of those are at home. So,
right.
If you can just hold serve at home, of course, those are all
that's tough.
Pretty tough opponents.
These next 2 games. But the interesting thing is Arkansas is a lot like South Carolina on the road. When those first few threes did not go down for Arkansas, I think Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, leads the SEC in 3-point shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they weren't going down, Mississippi State took advantage and they rolled. I think they had something like a 22-point lead at halftime on Arkansas, and they never caught up.
All right. Let's see what else to tell you about from today. USC football, first reported by Gamecock Central. Redshirt sophomore receiver Shaq Davidson transferring, 5'10", 180-pounder, Shrine Bowl selection, U.S. Army All-American selection. Saw one report said he was a 4-star guy. That's what I'm talking about, these star things. Here we go again with the stars. Well, I see 3-star here. State newspaper said he was a 4-star guy. Whatever. He turned out to be a 0-star for the Gamecocks. It just didn't work out. He did have a knee injury in his freshman year, and obviously that set him back. But
he had another knee injury.
Yeah.
Redshirt freshman year, and he had a knee injury in high school.
We didn't have 3 knee injuries.
No, I think he had 2.
He had the knee injury in high school,
and one
kind of carried over to his freshman year. He was redshirted his freshman year.
And then his redshirt year last year, he hurt his knee toward the end of fall camp, I think.
Mm-hmm. But he was he not healthy enough to play during
I don't think
season?
he was, no.
Yeah. So anyway, promising prospect coming out of Gaffney a few years ago, and for whatever reason didn't work out for him at South Carolina. John Beeson's retiring with the Giants. But, of course, he started out with the Panthers, played his first 6 seasons in Charlotte. Panthers selected him 25th overall in the 2007 draft and started 65 consecutive games to begin his career. Pro Bowler 3 consecutive years, but then he had injuries, and so he has decided to hang it up.
I think probably what we're looking at the dawning field where outside of the quarterback position and maybe offensive lineman, we're going to see a lot of players after 6 and 7 years retire because of the cognizance of the head injuries now.
Mississippi State's football program cited by the NCAA in nearly half of the 28 rules violations levied against the school in the notice of allegations the university recently received. This according to Yahoo Sports. 9 of those occurred under Hugh Freeze's tenure, which is ongoing. The violations are a mix of level 1, the most serious, and level 2 and level 3, many self-reported by the school. The women's basketball, track, and field programs also are involved in the investigation. And I'm willing to bet you that this will be resolved, penalty handed out, and other repercussions taking place before the North Carolina deal is finally resolved.
Look, that deal for North Carolina, that's anybody see the rug? If you look under it, that's where it is. It's been swept.
Seriously, how can these other investigations be investigated and carried out to the end? And this North Carolina thing's been going on how many years?
Remember the bank deals after the crash? Too big to fail, baby. Too big to fail.
And Sylvia says it's not her women's team that's the problem. We'll be back. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, with the Davidson's departure from the USC roster. By my count now, this is unofficial because I don't know which of the walk-ons who were given scholarships last year are still on scholarship. For example, long snapper Drew Williams, he was given a scholarship. Quarterback Perry Orth was given a scholarship. Running back Darius Polk was given a scholarship. I don't know if they still have those or not. By my count, though, and I've gone over and over my list to make sure I don't have somebody on here who shouldn't be on here, I've got South Carolina with 64 scholarship players in the program, and then the 24 coming in, 64 and 24. Let's see, carry the three. It's 88. Yeah. So they're 3 over the limit for the fall. And, of course, that equates to the 3 walk-ons who got scholarships last year. So I'm not sure if their scholarships were guaranteed any longer than the one season.
But do you and I believe that that entire glut of quarterbacks will still be there by the time?
Oh, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the spring? That's why they have the spring competition. But you look at the balance in South Carolina's roster right now, and, the senior class moving forward has got 19 in it right now, 19 scholarship seniors, counting those 3 that were given scholarships last year. So they'll have a pretty sizable senior class moving on after the 2016 season, creating more scholarship availabilities. And then the next class has got 17 in it by my count. It's the next group is kind of thinned out because of departures. You've got Terry Guger, you got Kevin Crosby, you got Scarnecchia, Malik Young, Donnell Stanley, and Samuel. Not a whole lot of scholarship guys in that next group. So you want to, of course, have balance throughout your roster if you can, so you don't find yourself short in some areas. But that also means you'll have a chance in that particular recruiting cycle to have a lot of scholarships to offer. But anyway, that's the way it looks from a South Carolina standpoint by my numbers at this particular time. We'll have to see how it works out in the spring.
I was about to say, I guess the surprising thing is one scholarship is still out there because a lot of people just thought that Sky Moore was gone and now he's still there. But they'll take that over the limit there to have him back for one final year. It's interesting. It was the running back Dowdle from Asheville by way of Gaffney. Of course, he had mentioned that Shaq Davidson was his cousin, but he will not be able to play with his cousin now. His cousin is transferring out.
That's right. That's right. And, I imagine, Davidson probably looked at the roster, saw the number of receivers, saw the receivers they're bringing in, realized that his playing time opportunities in his mind would be slim. Now, you go out and compete in the spring and see what you can do and earn your playing time. But he's opted to go elsewhere. Back in just a moment here on Sports Talk. We're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia Main Street. As we are the Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Phil Kornblut here, along with the Professor Tomas Hayes and LB Larkin Belton, also known as Pound. Pound LB on your wireless phone will get you nowhere. I just made that up on the cuff for you there, LB. Trying to give you a little bit of a yeah, people do know it as hashtag now. That's correct. But us older guys, we know it as Pound. You know, remember back when cell phones were just coming out and sports talk shows cut deals with cell phone companies so that you could make – and every phone call cost you an arm and a leg, and you could call into the sports talk shows and use Pound so-and-so, Pound ST.
Yeah,
but it was always Pound. It wasn't hashtag back then. You know, the Twitter people came up, I guess, with hashtag as – has long been known as the Pound symbol. Anyway, let's get over to the Colonial Life Arena where, I don't know, will South Carolina pound knots on the heads of the LSU guys or vice versa? Figures to be a very physical game because that's the way Frank Martin likes to play. Don't expect that LSU's guys are going to take a back step to South Carolina's physicality either. K-Mac, Kevin McCrary is over at the arena and in place to cover for us, so I'll join him in the second half. K-Mac, how's it looking over there, my man?
People are starting to file in, Corn, and you're right. This should be a heck of a matchup. You look at LSU, a team that got off to a little bit of a slow start. Early in the year, they had some guys that weren't healthy, but they're playing very well right now. And we all know they have the best player in the country, arguably, and Ben Simmons, a guy that could be the first pick in the NBA draft this summer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, but I'm actually looking more forward to seeing how South Carolina matches up with the kind of talent they're going to see tonight and the kind of talent they're going to see on Saturday. I mean, these are revealing games, not just from the standpoint of the opportunity to move into first place in the SEC by the end of this week. If they can take care of business, they'll stand alone in the lead in the SEC heading down the home stretch. But, I mean, this is a litmus test for this team in terms of the big stage, the NCAA tournament, because this is the kind of talent you're going to face as you, if you can, win some games and move through the bracket.
Yeah, and it is kind of funny how people are still trying to figure out this team. They're not ranked for some reason this week, which I find really that's a head scratcher. They won at then 8th-ranked Texas A&M. They're 20-3 this season, and sure, they don't have a juggernaut schedule, but you win 20 of 23 games, and you win at a top 10 Texas A&M, a team that's been beating a lot of good teams this year, including LSU by double digits at their place just a few weeks ago. South Carolina still isn't getting that kind of respect nationally, and this is the kind of game, if they win on this stage, a nationally televised game, they'll get that respect because this LSU team is really good. You know, we know they lost to the College of Charleston early in the year, but that was before they were fully healthy. And Frank Martin pointed this out earlier this week. They have a lot more than just Ben Simmons on this LSU team. Keith Hornsby, not just the son of Bruce Hornsby, one of your favorite singers, Corn. You're a big fan of Bruce Hornsby in the range. But he is a very good player, averaging over 13 points a game. They've got Quarterman averaging 11 points. Victor averages double digits. So they have a lot of guys around Simmons that can score, and that's why Simmons has such great numbers, 19 points, but he's also averaging 12 rebounds and over 5 assists per game.
Yeah. And, of course, Blakeney was a top 15 recruit as well, and I think he went off for 30-something the last time they played. They've got a lot of talent. I would tell you that everybody's talking about Ben Simmons, but for me, the two dangerous players for South Carolina tonight, if they hit a hot streak, are Hornsby and Quarterman. Those two. They tend to run hot and cold. And you know, a lot of shooters around the Southeastern Conference will tell you that there are great sight lines in the Colonial Life Arena. We've seen some three-point shooters bomb South Carolina. I mean, it's some great sight lines in that arena for shooters, and they better, keep a hand in the face of those two, because one or both get hot, it'll be a long night for them.
You would think that there'd be more great shooting from the South Carolina team from outside with those great sight lines, because you're right, there has been some visitors that have come in and really lit up the place. The cat from Florida last year, I think, hit like 12 threes in the first half. The Gamecocks have struggled a little bit with their outside shooting, their three-point shooting this season. Now, Thornwell really played well at Texas A&M, and if he can shoot like that and they can play like that, really, that was their best game of the season. If they can build on that, and that's kind of a flash bulb into what we're going to see this week, the Gamecocks should be in really good shape.
All right, looking for a big crowd tonight. Don't know what the number will be, but I'm expecting 13,000, 14,000, maybe north of that. I remember the last home game I went to there for the men was a couple of weeks ago, and there was a great buzz outside as fans were walking in. You could sense the excitement in the air. I'm sure it was the same way Monday night for the women's game. What about tonight going in? Did you sense some excitement among the fans and high expectation?
I sense a lot of chattering teeth since it's about 30 degrees out there and the wind. Oh, that's what I mostly sensed out there, as people were just trying to get inside the door to some heat blowing on them. It is frigid outside, but cozy inside here. Definitely not the buzz that we saw before the women's game on Monday night with that sellout crowd in 1 versus 2. But you're right, they do expect a big crowd here. It won't be completely full like it will be Saturday, but they should have a great crowd, and they played well here at home this season. As we know, the Gamecocks haven't lost here this year.
All right, K-Mac, thank you very much, and we'll see you over there in a little bit. Keep my seat warm for me. I like to, when I walk in, I like to have a nice warm seat to plop into. So, all right, Kevin McCrary from over at the Colonial Life Arena. They'll tip off a little bit after 7 o'clock tonight, South Carolina and LSU, and the game tonight being televised on ESPN2 with Joe Tessitore and Sean Farnham.
Well, not that they needed
Andy Katz on the sidelines.
Yeah, what I was about to say is not that they needed, because he wanted to see Ben Simmons.
You're not saying he didn't come here to watch the Gamecocks?
No, they came here for Ben Simmons. What other team in the nation that's been unranked all year, and yet you see them on national TV almost every day? It's LSU, because they want to see Ben Simmons. It's interesting. I think probably for South Carolina and the city of Columbia to have the women's game at UConn, and then this game tonight in Kentucky on Saturday. Already the machine is in the works, but it can't do but anything that tells the NCAA that, yes, you need to put a tournament here, a postseason NCAA regional here.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts that at all. Ron Morris working with the city of Columbia to try to get that done, and I think he's pretty confident that they will get that done eventually, maybe in time for a 2019 event here. But, this is great for basketball for South Carolina in particular, to have this particular week with the women playing Connecticut, the men playing LSU, the women playing Florida, and the men playing Kentucky. That's all great, but you know what you got to do?
You got to win.
You got to win. It ain't enough just to have them come and visit and steal your cookies. You got to win some games to show the home crowd that, you're this year, you're right up there with them. And South Carolina has had, on the men's side, they've had a terrific season to this point at 20-3. And it can get away in a hurry. What you can have happen, of course, is lose this game tonight to LSU and then have that turn around and beat you on Saturday. I can't remember what I said last night, but I think their best hope is to win tonight. After watching Kentucky last night and seeing what they did to what I think is a pretty good Georgia team, they're starting to find themselves, and they love, Kentucky loves it when these upstart teams think they're ready to take them down. Just like the UConn women, they love it when these teams, I'm not saying USC women is an upstart, but until you look, it's not a rivalry. You can call it a rivalry. It's not a rivalry until South Carolina beats Connecticut. And so anyway, Kentucky's going to come into Columbia to try to prove a point to this up-and-coming bunch. That's why I'm saying they need to take care of business tonight.
Without Poitras, by the way.
We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Wednesday night. If you want to join, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Got some open lines for you right now if you want to jump aboard. Coming up in our second hour, we are going to talk about South Carolina State basketball. Coach Murray Garvin and the Bulldogs, they got a great win on Monday night. They're at the top of the MEAC, having a great year. You talk about teams in our state, pros, got a chance to make it to the NCAA tournament. You got to say right now South Carolina. You got to say South Carolina State. You got to say Coastal Carolina. You got to say Winthrop. You got to say Furman. You got to say Wofford. And the College of Charleston, you know, they could make a run in their tournament. I mean, let's face it, the way basketball is, everybody's still eligible because anybody could get hot and win their tournament. But I'm talking about the teams that are showing at this particular point in time the ability to win their tournaments and get to the NCAA. We could have several, and I should say Clemson too, though. And the Tigers got a chance to rebound here down the stretch. They've had a couple of bad losses. They should beat Georgia Tech on Saturday. Their schedule is definitely lighter here down the stretch compared to what they have faced to this point. So, they've got a chance to put some wins together and make some noise. They've got Georgia Tech. They've got Boston College on Wednesday night. Should be a couple of wins. Then they go to NC State. That should be a win. Of course, it is on the road. Then they go to Georgia Tech. You know, Clemson's got a chance to roll off 4 in a row if they play the way they're capable. Then they get Virginia. Then they get Virginia at home. They finish up with Boston College. I mean, they got a chance to finish 5-1 in league play. If they can do that, that'll make them 12-6 in the league and 21-9 overall. So is that good? Will that be good enough? Of course, they'll still have the tournament, the ACC tournament to deal with.
They'd have to win 1 or 2 in the tournament, I think, to seal the deal. I really thought they were going to win that game the other night. I thought, Notre Dame was right for the picking. But they had the shooting eye.
Well, they did.
The other night,
they look really good. They look really good. But we got a chance here for a number of teams to be involved in the big postseason play.
I will say this about basketball, and people better watch out. It's not a trend, but, let's face it, in college basketball, it's hard to find the big man because they normally they're going the way of the dinosaur, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing is you look at Notre Dame. What did we see Monday night? A lot of times they had 3 and 4 guards on the floor. Guess who your number 1 team is now? Oh, wait a minute. It's Villanova, who starts 4 guards.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's something about spreading the floor and having shooters, at least 3, that are dangerous from 3-point range. You open up the floor, and some of these big people are being negated, and and coaches, some of them are scratching their heads. How do I get small? Do I go big?
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting.
Yes, it is. All right, 800-956-7266 is the phone number. A couple of other notes to pass along tonight's. This one is not a good note. John Pulowski dismissed today as Western Kentucky's baseball coach in his first year. Had a recent charge for DUI. Dismiss. Wait a minute. Hang on a second.
Oh, no, yeah, his charge dismissed.
You're right. My bad.
Okay, yeah, his charge
First-year Western Kentucky baseball coach John Pulowski had a recent charge for driving under the influence dismissed. Oh, okay. I should read these things before I read these things. My apologies. So John Pulowski not dismissed. Well, this is good news then. So he had this recent charge dismissed by a court today. The Kentucky State Police pulled him over January 29th. He failed field sobriety tests, was arrested and charged, but his lawyer argued his blood alcohol content measured well below Kentucky's legal limit. And he said it's a puzzling situation, to say the least. We expect a prompt resolution. He was hired last June at the WKU. So my apologies. John Pulowski had his record cleared today.
Did you see the story? I don't know where it was. I have to look it up. A woman who got off in New Jersey, I think they arrested her for DUI until her doctors came in and said that it's something in her metabolism that she produces alcohol in our digestive system, and they got her off.
Really?
Yes.
Well, does that, when she produces alcohol in her digestive system, does it affect her?
I'm not certain, but apparently they say there's something in her digestive system.
And there's always the Charlie Taff explanation of the inner ear infection.
I thought you were going to say the booster's giving him drinks.
Anyway, once again, John Pawlowski not dismissed. The charge against him was dismissed. That's the good news. Back in a moment. All right, in recruiting tonight, just one player to talk about, but this is important. Wide receiver Amari Rogers from Knoxville is announcing on Sunday at noon, and he's going to choose from Clemson, Tennessee, Florida State, Alabama, and Wake Forest. He's a former Southern Cal commit. His father is T. Martin, assistant coach at Southern Cal, the guy who set, at the time, the NCAA record for completion percentage in a game against South Carolina in Columbia.
21 for 22 or 24-25.
Yeah, something like that. Then it was broken this past year at Georgia, of course. Anyway, Amari Rogers was at Clemson's junior day on the 30th. Said it was a good visit, great experience, met a lot of the people there. Says he's looking for a family-based organization where they are all one and care about each other, and of course academics and the environment around it, some place where he could see himself being happy if he were not playing football. One of the top players in the country is a junior. He was a Mr. Football in Tennessee. They have several Mr. Footballs in Tennessee. He was one of them for his class. 2,511 all-purpose yards, 31 touchdowns. He scored in 5 different ways. Can you name the 5 ways that he scored touchdowns?
What, by rushing, pass catching, punt return, kickoff return? Did he make a tackle for a safety, or did he kick a field goal?
Pass interception return.
Pass interception return?
Yeah.
Okay.
5 different ways he scored a touchdown.
Okay.
So I guess the only way he didn't score a touchdown was a scoop and score.
Scoop and score.
Yeah. 6 ways you can score a touchdown, right? Any other way you can score a touchdown? Pass interception, scoop and score, receiving, rushing, punt return,
I
kickoff return.
guess blocking a kick into the end zone and falling on is the same as scooping and scoring.
No, I would count. That would be a seventh way. Yeah, blocking. That's not a fumble recovery. A scoop and score is a fumble recovery.
Mm-hmm.
So blocking a kick and scoring would be another. 7 ways you can score a touchdown. Can you think of an eighth? Is there another way? I think that might be it. We might have maxed out. Anyway, heck of a player, and we'll see. And his decision could have ramifications. His very good friend is a guy named T. Higgins in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, receiver, looking hard at Clemson. And, of course, this week there's another player on the verge of making his decision. Don't know exactly when it's going to come down. Defensive back LeAnthony Williams from Roswell, Georgia. Indications are he'll pick Clemson. That team at Roswell, Georgia is loaded. And, of course, Trey Lamar from Roswell just signed with Clemson. But LeAnthony Williams, one of several major players in terms of prospects on that Roswell, Georgia team. And he's supposed to do something this week as well. All right, top of the hour break, and we'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, welcome back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a busy basketball night. They're underway here in Columbia at the Colonial Life Arena. LSU out to an early 5-4 lead. The big news, though, Michael Carrera, 2 early fouls within 90 seconds. They had to sit him down, and I imagine he's finished for the half, and that's a long time to go without Carrera, who's become arguably the best player on the team in terms of what he does, a little bit of everything, not to mention the emotion and the physicality that he brings to the team as well. So they're going to miss him. Notice comes in to replace him, so they also lose some size in there as well. They go pretty small. Thornwell, Notice, Dozier, Kaishanis, and Silva, because Cavicius is not playing right now. So USC going pretty small against this LSU team with Carrera on the bench with 2 fouls. 6-5 now. USC is on top, off to a 43% start from the floor for USC, 3 of 7, and hitting the rebounds, already out-rebounding LSU early, 4-2. So some good signs. South Carolina being very aggressive and noticing offensively attacking the basket, not settling for outside shots early on, trying to get to the rim.
Especially Silva. You rarely see him try to post up, but he posted up a couple of times and got a couple of layups and a foul.
Yeah, Silva, the early scoring leader for USC with 4. Blakeney just hit a 3 from the corner for LSU, so he's leading LSU with 3. Simmons has a single point so far in the ball game. So USC and LSU underway, and it's 6-5 USC early here in Columbia. Other basketball tonight around the SEC. Of course, it's a busy Wednesday coming off a busy Tuesday. Actually, Wednesday not as busy as Tuesday. 4 games last night, 3 games tonight. You've got Texas A&M at Alabama and Missouri at Vanderbilt, along with the South Carolina and LSU game. And in the ACC tonight, you've got just the one game, and it's a doozy. It's the one you've been waiting for. It's Wake Forest at Georgia Tech.
Boy, you did one team, you don't know what direction they're going in. Wake Forest has had a chance for some big wins. The Virginia game, I still think, haunts that young team. They keep thinking about the game they blew, but they've got a lot of talent there. Danny Manning, I think, is going to get it done there. Georgia Tech is look like they're in for another rebuilding under a new mentor.
Yeah, I would think so. Now, we've got some good stuff coming up. We got Louisville at Notre Dame on Saturday, Virginia at Duke on Saturday. That should be very good. Pittsburgh at North Carolina, Miami at Florida State. Those are on Sunday, and you know what's coming up right around the corner. Regardless of what's happened to this point, you've got Duke and North Carolina. They're going to be playing each other here pretty soon. February 17th in Chapel Hill, and then March 5th in Durham. Back in a moment. And we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut and Professor Tom Hayes with you from downtown Columbia. Quick update from South Carolina and LSU. USC, a bit of a run. Gamecocks have pulled out to a 14-7 lead, shooting 55% at this particular point. 6-0 run. Gamecocks have hit 5 of their last 6 field goal attempts. Cautious has 5 points. Silva has 4, and Notice has 3. Blakeney is leading LSU with 6 points at this point. Tigers are shooting 50% from the floor. Now it's a 14-10 USC lead. You know, we talked about hot teams in the state and teams to look out for in terms of the NCAA tournament. One of those is South Carolina State, winners of 9 of their last 10. They're tied for the lead in the MEAC, riding a 4-game win on Monday night. And Coach Murray Garvin joining us here on Sports Talk. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good, Tom. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we are doing great. Great to have you with us. Congratulations on the season. 9-2 in the league. Could you see this going into the year, that it'd be this kind of a season for you?
To be honest with you, I always thought that we had a very talented team coming into this season. I thought we put things together on and off the floor, that we had a chance to do something that hadn't been done in a while here at South Carolina State. And I really couldn't be prouder of the young men that I am blessed to coach.
Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to check my record book. Do we have to go back to the days of Cy Alexander for the last time the Bulldogs made the tournament?
I believe so. I think 2004 was the last season that they won the regular season and the MEAC championship. That has been something that has been a goal of ours ever since I took over as head coach of the program. And just met with the team just a minute ago and just talked about the opportunity that we have in front of us. So we're excited at the point that we're at right now in the season to be number 1 in the MEAC. I know many of your listeners know about the struggles that the university has had over the last couple of years. And for our young men to be persevering and to come together and for us to put together a season like we're having is nothing less than remarkable for our basketball program.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. You know, one thing you did to help yourself get ready for the MEAC was play a tough non-league schedule, including Charleston. You went to Kansas State, played them to a 2-point game. You've played East Carolina, you've played Ohio State, Miami of Ohio, Jacksonville. All of this, no doubt, helping you to get ready for your conference slate?
Absolutely. You know, schools on this level, we have to play what they call guarantee games or money games, and we had our fair share of them. I believe throughout the process, while we were playing those games, we were playing good basketball. Maybe the only game that we really didn't show up for was against East Carolina, but they had an incredible shooting night. If I remember correctly, I think they 16 three-pointers against us, and most of the time you don't win those games when a team hits that number of three-point shots. But outside of that, it was maybe a 12 or a 14-point game with a 10-point game with Akron, which is leading the MAC conference. We were able to beat Miami of Ohio this year, which is another MAC conference member. We've had some big out-of-conference wins, and it's definitely put us in the right mindset and really showed us what we need to do in order to compete on the MEAC.
Well, obviously, if you're winning these basketball games, that means you've got to do the intangible things. As far as rebounding is concerned this year, how has South Carolina State fared? It seems that you've been able to – it seems that's a sticking point for you to at least be even with rebounds with your opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we have some very athletic guys. Our leading rebounder is Daryl Palmer. He is a senior for us that has led us in rebounding the last 3 years, actually. And he's one of the most athletic kids that we have coached. But as a team, we do a good job of rebounding. And usually rebounding is a telltale sign if you're in or out of the game. And we've been able to compete with teams at the highest level on the backboard. And I believe that's the reason that we have been in some of those games and we have won some of those games.
Talking with Coach Murray Garvin from South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, one of the teams in our state, having a terrific season in league play, really starting to pick it up and got a chance to win the conference regular season. Then, of course, you go into tournament play, and anything can happen. How do you like your slate here down the stretch? How do you like the matchups that await you over the next few weeks and your chance to win the league outright?
Well, we have a tough slate to finish the year. We have Savannah State, which is one of our biggest rivals. They come in here Saturdays for Senior Day. And then we go on a 2-game road trip to the Maryland region where we take on Howard, which they have the nation's leading scorer on their team in all of Division I. And then another game at Maryland Eastern Shore against another conference opponent. Our last 6 games, I believe, are all against teams in the middle of the pack or in the top 6 of our conference. So it's going to be a tough road. We got to put in the work, and we got to stay together and keep continuing to get better on the floor in order to finish the season where we expect to.
When you get to the tournament, if things hold together for you, you finish well in Hampton, Norfolk State, in particular, those other 2 teams, how have you fared against those 2, and how is the matchup for you? Is it more in your favor against those 2, or will you be fighting uphill against those 2?
Well, we defeated Hampton at their place maybe about 2 weeks ago, and we're tied in the conference with them with overall wins. But when you really look at it, we are the number 1 team in our league right now.
Mm-hmm.
We just have the same amount of conference wins, but head-to-head, we defeated Hampton, and we beat them on their home court. So I feel like we match up well. The only disadvantage, or what we'll have to go uphill against, is the tournament takes place in Norfolk, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you face those teams, it's like they have a home court advantage. But I believe that if we go into the tournament and we're still a very high seed, or we're fortunate enough to win the conference, I believe that the contingents from South Carolina State will come up and support us, and hopefully we can balance out that arena with our fans in the building as well.
Sure.
Well, you always want to be in the postseason, and I know you want to be in the big dance, but you look at it, how important is it to you to at least win the regular season title? So if you maybe come up short in the tournament, you still have that open invitation to the NIT.
Oh, it's major. It's major, Phil. It's a big boost for our program. You know, if we finish with a winning record, and on the positive side, we've already been contacted by some of the tournaments outside of the NCAA and the NIT. And for us to be in postseason play, again, sometimes I have to pinch myself because where we're coming from as a basketball program over the last 2.5, 3 years, it is remarkable that we're at this point and we're talking to you guys. Don't take this lightly. When I got into coaching in South Carolina, I was told if I was talking to Phil Kornblue, I have arrived. You guys are laughing, but I worked for Barclay Radeball for 3 years at Charleston Southern, and he used to talk about you guys' relationship when he was at South Carolina. And, you know, it's an honor to be on the line with you all. I don't take that lightly. It's just big for South Carolina State University, and we just want to continue to work hard to represent this university in a first-class manner.
Yeah, we appreciate that. The thing to know is if we've got you on the show, it means you're having a pretty good year, because
absolutely,
we know people that are struggling and aren't winning, they don't want to be interviewed. So those that are winning, they do want to be interviewed, and we're more than happy to have them on the show. Well, listen, good luck to you against Savannah State this week. And we will keep in touch with you here now, moving on down the stretch as we turn our attention to basketball and things happening around our state. We've got a lot of good teams besides South Carolina and Clemson and the USC women getting it done out there. And we're going to pay attention to you and Furman and Winthrop and Wofford and Coastal Carolina in particular, all having really good years. So good luck this week, and we'll be back in touch.
All right, thank you. And it is an exciting time in the state of South Carolina for college basketball, and we're just happy to be a part of it.
You got it, sir. Hopefully get you to the postseason. Thank you very much. Murray Garvin, coach at South Carolina State in his 3rd year pro, and getting it done in a big way now.
Mm-hmm. He came in at a tight time as an interim coach and has hung on and came through that financial problems they had as well.
All right, we'll be right back. We'll dial up K-Mac from the CLA here shortly and update things. 18-17 USC in the lead midway through. Thanks again to Coach Murray Garvin for being with us tonight here on Sports Talk, and good luck to the Bulldogs moving forward. Hope they can continue to play good basketball. Good win over at the CLA 2020, USC and LSU, and USC 2 for its last 9 from the floor. So they've cooled off a little bit down to 40%. Got to pick it up on the defensive side. LSU shooting 58% at this point, 4 of 7 from 3, having some defensive issues, covering the 3.
Well, what it is Blakeney is camping out on the wide baseline, and they've had 3 guys just converge inside on Simmons. That leaves it wide open in the corners, and that's why I think he's hit all 3 of his threes from the corners.
Yeah, USC yet to get any points from Thornwell. It would help if for them if he would step up and start doing his thing, but he's scoreless, 0 for 2 from the floor. Now he just hit a free throw.
You just bricked the free throw.
No, he just hit a free throw.
I'm watching.
Ahead of us. I'm ahead of the TV.
Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah, I saw that brick.
He's on the board with a point. Notice leads USC with 6. Cassius had 5. Silva has 4. So leading LSU is Blakeney with 6. Simmons now has 5. He also has 3 assists and 2 rebounds, and just took a shot in the mouth not too long ago. So good one over at the Colonial Life Arena. USC leading LSU 23-20. It is SC Wild night here on Sports Talk. Captain Billy Downer will be here in just a couple of minutes, and we invite you outdoorsman type to join us in our next half hour, as things have turned very cold on the outside. Certainly that impacts hunting and fishing and all kinds of outdoor activities. We'll talk with the captain about how you deal with that. And, of course, look forward to your stories, your ways of handling the cold when you're outside doing your thing, hunting or fishing, whatever the case may be. That'll be coming up here after the bottom of the hour break. SC Wild here on Sports Talk on this Wednesday night. Captain Billy Downer will be here. Look forward to having him with us here in just a little bit. We'll say goodbye to the professor here at the bottom of the hour.
Yeah, I'll go home and try to warm up and look at the rest of the game.
What's our forecast? Is it going to start getting warmer?
I have no earthly idea. I'm just putting my head down and staying warm till the sun starts to come up a little bit.
I've had enough of this winter stuff. I'm ready for the heat to return, that climate situation. I'm ready for it to turn hot again. Let's see. Just looking here in the Columbia area next couple of days, 50, 49, 39, 46, 54. 54 next week. Oh, it's going to get back into the 60s next week. I like it. Golf time in South Carolina. Back in a moment. All right. Well, I fooled you. Apparently, I have my dates crossed or something, but no Captain Downer here so far tonight, and I've not heard otherwise. We had to bump him last week because it was signing night, and we all agreed it was best to go full recruiting last Wednesday night. So for some reason, I thought that we were doing it tonight. Maybe I am mistaken on that. So if it's not tonight, we'll have him next Wednesday night. So we're back with the regular format here on Sports Talk. And Pro, you can't go home. You have to stay.
Well, I'll stay. You just I was about out that door, though. The interesting thing in this ball game right now, South Carolina, okay in shooting, not great in shooting, but great in second chance points with rebounding. And that is key for them to at least have a 4-point lead with about 6.5 minutes to go, and Carrera being on the bench for most of the first half.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing, that there's, leading or staying close with Carrera only playing 90 seconds of the first half. He'll be fresh in the second half. I think that was that Hornsby just knocked down a three?
I think it was.
29-28, USC leading, 6:33 to go in the half. I'll give you some of the numbers. LSU is red hot, shooting 63%, 10 of 16 from the floor. More impressively, 6 of 9 behind the arc. So South Carolina is going to have to extend its defense and get tighter up on these LSU shooters. The Gamecocks at 44%, 3 of 10 from behind the arc, and 4 of 7 from the line. LSU 2 of 6 from the line. LSU with 6 turnovers. USC only 2 thus far. And USC winning on the boards 13-10 at this point, including 7 offensive boards. They've only produced 5 second chance points from those offensive boards. So got to take advantage of those second chance opportunities.
And that's the key. And South Carolina, one thing you have to do with Simmons, though, if he gets out on the break, you really have to cut him off, because he'll go right to the hoop over the top of you. And he almost did it earlier. But South Carolina's played good defense on him. But what they have not done is they have not fanned out in the corners, because I would guarantee you that all those threes you've seen from LSU all have been hit from the corners.
Good ball game, though. Just the kind of game that you would expect between two upper echelon teams. 2 teams that they're not in the great by any means. Simmons just picked up his second foul, by the way, so he goes to the bench with 5.5 minutes to go in the half. So that's a break for USC. 2 teams trying to break in to that level of being considered a threat in the league, which they both are, but then, of course, nationally trying to announce to the country that, you know what, when the tournament comes, we're going to be there and we're going to have a chance to win some games against some people.
Well, yeah, LSU had a chance to beat NC State last year, and I think they missed their last 10 shots and last 6 free throws and blew something like a 13-point lead with 5 minutes to go in the tournament last year and lost by 1. The key point here, though, is you always talk about respect for your conference. I still say that it's ridiculous that you're in the SEC. 2 teams are playing for first place in the SEC, and neither one of them are ranked.
The coaches had the Gamecocks ranked.
Well, I know, but
you don't count the coach's opinion?
Well, whoever's filling it out for the coaches,
Mm-hmm.
I count it. I would think the basketball coaches are a little bit more sincere about filling them out than the football coaches. But, it's just one of those things where I think still the conference gets that lack of respect because they're considered a football conference.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah. I mean, nobody looks at SEC basketball top to bottom as the class of the country. I mean,
No.
ACC gets the benefit of the doubt for that, and justifiably so. I mean, you look at the SEC top to bottom and compare it to the ACC. I mean, look, the ACC now with North Carolina, Louisville, Virginia, Notre Dame, Duke, and Syracuse. All right, those are 6 blue blood basketball programs, and I'm kind of pushing Notre Dame into that category. And even of those 6, one of those is 9th in the league. That's Syracuse. And you've got Miami, which is having a big year and has to be considered a threat. And Pittsburgh is always solid. And Florida State can be dangerous. So, now you look at the SEC and look at the quality. You know, at the top, you've got LSU, South Carolina, Texas A&M. Not household names in college basketball. Maybe LSU, you know, they have that reputation to some degree, but certainly South Carolina and Texas A&M don't. You know, the SEC, really, who do you have when you talk about basketball that brings to mind a basketball powerhouse? You know, Kentucky, obviously. You know, Florida with their national championships and their great years under Billy Donovan, but they have a new coach, a whole new regime. Can he maintain it? Can Mike White maintain it?
I think he can.
Well, we'll see. We'll
I like
see.
Mike White.
Who else? Arkansas's down. You know, Missouri has a great tradition, but they're in the second year of a terrible slump.
Arkansas has a tradition too, but
yeah, that's
you
what I'm
know,
saying.
when you look at the ACC, I'm not even talking about the ACC. I'm talking about even the Big 12 gets more love than the SEC.
Well, they should.
They got
better teams.
Well, they've got teams that
you look at the basketball teams in the Big 12. You start with Kansas and throw Kansas State in there and throw Oklahoma and throw
Kansas State is unranked.
Yeah, but I mean, they are. I'm talking about teams. When you think basketball, you think Kansas State with the success that they've had over the years.
Well, when Frank Martin was there, and then of course you had Jack Hartman years ago.
Right.
Was it? But still,
who's there now? Bruce Weber, isn't he the coach there now?
Yeah, but right now Baylor has played well, and Texas has been good. Shaka Smart finally has got them playing his style. But I'm just saying they will get you know, a little bit more love in the SEC.
I think, you know, the SEC is it is what it is when it comes, you know, what it isn't in basketball, it is in football. And what the ACC isn't in football, it is in basketball. And they're both good in baseball. You know, SEC, ACC baseball, to me, that's kind of a wash. They're pretty they face off against each other pretty well in baseball. But you can't compare SEC. I was thinking about it today, talking with someone today about ACC football and why, you know, if you're Dabo Swinney or Jimbo Fisher, why would you ever want to leave your programs? Because in the current state, and there's no indication that it's going to change, you only have to beat each other to get to your championship game. It's sort of like when John Kress was at the College of Charleston in the TAC. And, you know, he was building his reputation because he was head and shoulders above everybody else, and he was winning every year. He got to the Southern Conference. They continued it. Then eventually the league kind of caught up with him. Well, look at the Coastal Division of the ACC in football. You got Clemson, Florida State. Then look at the rest. Boston College, NC State, that's a pretender. Syracuse, Wake Forest. I mean, come on. You know, you can sleep through 90% of those games. So what my point is that you're going to sell out every home game. Both of those teams are. You're going to win every game that you play, most likely within your league. Even when you cross over to the Coastal, in Clemson's case, didn't have to play North Carolina until the championship game. Miami was terrible. Georgia Tech was terrible. And there's no indications that any of those bad teams are going to turn it around anytime soon to be a threat. So why you can get to where you need to be. All Clemson has to do is beat Florida State. You look at next year. Now, easier said than done. Auburn, that opening game at Auburn obviously is going to be dangerous. That's going to have danger written all over it. Win that game, pretty smooth sailing. You get Louisville at home. I forgot about Louisville when I was talking about the division. But still, they're kind of down a little bit.
Gets his quarterback.
Well, he might have his quarterback. He might have his quarterback. But really, take care of Florida State, and you're sitting pretty good in terms of getting to the ACC championship game, and then, of course, into the national playoff. All right, we'll be right back. All right, heading towards halftime over at the Colonial Life Arena. USC up 39-33 on LSU, about 2 minutes to go. And the Gamecocks have 4 with 2 fouls each. Cavicius, Dozier, Carrera, and Silva. And all are sitting right now. So Frank Martin going with the back end of the bench for the most part. And hoping to get through these last 2 minutes with the lead. They're up 39-35. LSU's got some guys in with some fouls as well. Simmons is on the bench with 2. Victor has 2. Blakeney, Robinson, they all have 2. Epps has 2. So 13 fouls called on LSU so far, 12 on the Gamecocks. 25 fouls called in the first half between the two teams. And 29 free throws shot. So it looks like a typical South Carolina game. It's a game that's going to take a while to play, longer than a normal basketball game because there's so many fouls. And the whistles are going to be blown a lot, and there's going to be a lot of trips to the foul line.
Well, the key point right now for South Carolina, and I know Frank Martin harps on it a bit about Carrera, is you not having any guys on South Carolina's team willing to stand in there and take a charge. Because one of the reasons that LSU is shooting a high percentage is once they drive from the foul line, they're going right to the hole. There's nobody standing in front of them to draw a charge. Mm-hmm. See, right here, boy, that should have been some kind of call there.
But it wasn't. It was a no call. Jay Billis will be all over that. He's already complaining about the second call on Simmons should have been a block and not a charge. These guys, they look out for the superstars. They don't give the little guy, the no name from the unheard of team, much of a break. They feel like it's got to go the superstars' way from their den, sitting in their easy chair, watching on their 90-inch screen. But anyway, now they go to a break. It's 39-35. We'll catch up with K-Mac here at halftime, where he can hear us and talk with us about what he has seen from his vantage point. Thornwell, after the slow start, remember about midway through the game, he had 0 points. Mm-hmm. He's got 11 now, 3 of 8 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the line. He also has 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And Notice has 8. Cautious has 6. Silva has 5. And heading it up for LSU right now is Blakeney. He's got 9. And Hornsby has got 6. And Simmons has got 5. USC shooting 42%, LSU 44%. But LSU doubling up the Gamecocks behind the arc, 6 of 14. The USC's 3 of 11. The Gamecocks still winning rebounds 20-16, including 8 on the offensive glass. Turnover 6-5, LSU leading in that department. And it's been a tight game throughout. I expect more of the same in the second half, and depending on what happens in the foul situation and who is disqualified in the second half, and that becomes a factor when you start losing key players.
Well, the key point is to have Carrera in the last 5 minutes of the game. If he's out of the game, now you got to mix and match and see what you have to do as far as that's concerned. Now we've had 2 consecutive offensive foul calls on screen set. So it's interesting. They're trying to let it get physical, but they're trying to reel it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. This would be I'm waiting for it to go up on the board. That was on Dobie, and that's his first, I guess. So that's 28 fouls between the two teams in the first half. We have seen some games this year in Columbia with South Carolina where the number of fouls and the number of free throws taken are just astronomical. It's been that kind of, but I guess that's more of a tribute, I think, to Frank Martin, even though he's not in favor of fouling. Don't get me wrong. That's a testament to the physical style of play that he coaches. And then again, the opponent's not backing down. Who was it? Was it Memphis? Was that the game that had all those free throws? Who was it? Do you remember?
Memphis. It was Memphis.
That was a rumble. That was a tough rock'em sock'em kind of game. And you got that tonight. You'll have the same thing on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You'll have the same thing. And the funny thing is that they've gone over 17 minutes without the most physical player on the team, Carrera, on the floor. Mm-hmm. Yet they have they've picked it up from his absence and continue to play a physical style of basketball. So just about to go in to the halftime break, and somebody just missed a heave from half court. 39-35 at the break. USC is on top. A good 20 minutes of basketball. Should be an exciting second half. We'll go to K-Mac at the arena after this break to get the recap from him here on Sports Talk. All right, 39-35 USC at the break over LSU as we go over to Kevin McCrary at the Colonial Life Arena. Very good first half in terms of the competitiveness. A lot of fouls, something we've come to expect in tough USC basketball games. What's your take on what you saw from behind the basket there, K-Mac?
Yeah, Corn. I mean, there are a lot of fouls, and you're right. That is kind of how South Carolina likes to play these types of games. They get to the free throw line a lot. They play kind of those rough and tumble games, and there was a stretch there late in the first half where there were three straight offensive fouls called away from the ball. So not a lot of flow, but that falls into the Gamecocks' hands. So they're playing very well in terms of their style of game. Darius Stormwell's playing very well right now, and they're doing this despite the fact that they didn't have Michael Carrera for pretty much the entire first half. He scored the first bucket of the game and then picked up two quick fouls, and with a little over 18 minutes left, he was sitting on the pine and hasn't been back yet with those two fouls.
All right, Simmons, 5 points, couple of rebounds, 4 assists. He's got a couple of fouls as well. That second one came kind of late. I saw Jay Billis tweet that he thought that was a block and not a charge. How'd you see it? Could you see it well?
Yeah, that was a close one. Now, Simmons has been getting some calls now. I tweeted earlier that he's already getting the calls of an NBA veteran. He gets star treatment, and that's to be expected. He gets a lot of attention, and guys can be a little more physical or try to be a little more physical with him. But he got that second foul with a little over 8 minutes left. So that was a significant chunk of time that he wasn't on the court for them.
LSU hit 6 threes out of 14 attempts. Was that just a breakdown in South Carolina's perimeter defense? Were they just beating them in transition and getting threes? How were they so open a good bit of the half and getting threes away?
Yeah, they've got some shooters there, and Simmons, he handles the ball a lot. He's a 6'10" guy, but he handles the ball very well. He kind of reminds you of Kevin Durant and that former, even LeBron, where he's one of the biggest guys on the court, but he can handle it really well. And when he's got the ball, everybody's paying attention to him because he can drive and score, he can shoot. And when guys are paying attention to him, he's really good at just finding somebody standing out there in the corner when guys collapse on him. And LSU has guys that are capable of knocking down those shots.
Going to be a great second half, I think, and we will see you over there in a couple of minutes. Thanks for the update. Kevin McCrary from over at the CLA, 39-35. My gut tells me, and my gut is seldom wrong. Listen to my gut a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have a lot of guts. I really don't. But I listen to it a lot. I think the Gamecocks going to win this thing.
We shall see. I think they still have to rebound a little bit better on the offensive end of the court to give themselves second chance points. They did it pretty well, but they got to do it better than that. And they got to cover those 3-point shots. But I will say this, LSU seemed late start to fall in love with that three, and it's not going down. See, sometimes you hit those threes early and it haunts you. By the way, at the half, 32-27, Alabama leading Texas A&M in Tuscaloosa. A&M may be looking at a fourth straight loss maybe.
All right, catch our post-game coverage of tonight's game at sportstalksc.com, and we will see you back here tomorrow night. Tonight. No, they're doing LA and Cleveland.
The arena is out.
Yeah.
And then